On January 2, 2021, during an hour-long conference call, then U.S. President Donald Trump allegedly pressured Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to change the state's vote totals from the 2020 presidential election. Trump had been defeated by Joe Biden in the election, but refused to accept the outcome and made a months-long effort to overturn the results. Prior to the call to Raffensperger, Trump spoke repeatedly to state and local officials in at least 3 states in which he had lost, urging them to recount votes, throw out some ballots, or replace the Democratic slate of electors with a Republican slate. Trump's call with Raffensperger was first reported by The Washington Post and other media outlets the day after it took place. According to the publicly released recording of the call and reports made by multiple news agencies, Trump attempted to pressure the secretary into finding him votes, despite being repeatedly told that there was no electoral error. Trump's repeated efforts to convince the secretary to find some basis to overturn the election results were perceived as pleading and threatening. At one point on the call, Trump told Raffensperger, "What I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes. Which is one more than we have. Because we won the state." During the call, Trump falsely suggested that Raffensperger could have committed a criminal offense. Legal experts have suggested that Trump's behavior and demands could have violated state and federal laws. On January 11, the phone call was cited in the article of impeachment in the second impeachment of Donald Trump, introduced in the House of Representatives. In February 2021, Raffensperger's office opened a fact-finding and administrative investigation of potential election interference regarding Trump's efforts to overturn the results in Georgia, and Fulton County prosecutors opened a criminal investigation. In the 2020 United States presidential election, former Vice President Joe Biden defeated incumbent President Donald Trump, in part through a narrow victory over Trump in the state of Georgia. Nevertheless, Trump's campaign continued to claim baseless accounts of voter fraud which have been resoundingly dismissed by fact-checkers, election security experts, and courts. Nearly all of Trump's legal challenges to the election results were unsuccessful. But he has repeatedly refused to accept the outcome of the election. Audits were conducted and hand recounts requested, all of which ultimately concluded there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud that would considerably change the results. Biden was officially confirmed the winner of Georgia on November 19. In November and December, as his lawsuits were repeatedly rejected in court for lack of evidence, Trump personally communicated with Republican local and state officials in at least 3 states: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. He talked in person or via phone to state legislators, state attorneys general, and governors, pressuring them to overturn the election results in their states by recounting votes, throwing out some of the ballots, or getting the state legislature to replace the elected Democratic slate of Electoral College members with a Republican slate of electors chosen by the legislature. In December, he spoke by phone to the governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp, and made public demands on the Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, both Republicans who had supported Trump in the election. He demanded that they reverse the Georgia election results, threatened them with political retaliation when they did not, strongly criticized them in speeches and tweets, and tweeted that Kemp should resign. On December 23, 2020, Trump called the chief investigator for the Georgia Secretary of State's office, who was then conducting a ballot audit in Cobb County. Raffensperger had ordered the audit in response to allegations of fraud. Trump asked the investigator to scrutinize the ballots and said the investigator would find dishonesty. The Washington Post reported on the telephone conversation with apparent quotations of President Trump's comments to the chief investigator. It based these quotations on an anonymous source purportedly familiar with the call. At the time of its reporting, it emphasized that President Trump had instructed the investigator to find the fraud and that the investigator would be a national hero if the investigator did so. Based on this reporting, Some legal experts said that this phone call appeared to be bribery or obstruction on Trump's part. On December 29, the audit ended. Georgia officials concluded that there was no fraud. Trump was unhappy with those results. Trump's December 23 phone call to the chief investigator was acknowledged by Raffensperger during a Good Morning America interview on January 4. The Washington Post revealed more details of the phone call on January 9, but did not reveal the name of the chief invest.